So this is part of the Sculpto video introduction, and this one is about 3D printing in general. When you want to 3D print something, you have something called an STL file. This STL file is a description of what the thing looks like. And the printer doesn't understand this. It needs something called G-code. So you take your STL file, you put it into a slicing software. Basically, this cuts the print or the thing into little slices that can be printed layer for layer. And the slicing software, it has a bunch of settings, and then it outputs the G-code, and you put the G-code into your 3D printer. Not particularly easy, so Sculpto has decided on a different approach. They have a server, and you just basically send the STL file up to that server and it'll return some G-code. It'll work just fine. And, you know, the advantage of this is you don't need to have a computer. You can actually print from your phone because you don't need the slicing software. And this is one of the things that makes Sculpto easy to use. Of course, easy 3D printing. It's, well, let's compare it a little bit to normal paper printing. We consider paper printing easy, right? I mean, there are just things like paper jams, and like if you have issues with your toner or your ink, there are different surfaces, like you have the matte or the glossy, you have different thickness, and that might affect the printer, you know, thin paper, thick paper, cardboard. You might want to print like a name on an envelope. How do you put it together on the front, the back, the right place? What if you want to print on both sides of the paper? How to get that right? And then 3D printing, it's just more dimensions. So things can go wrong. Things will go wrong sometimes. Occasionally you will have a paper jam, or in this case, a filament jam. Sometimes things go wrong. That doesn't mean it's not easy, it just means 3D printing is still a relatively new technology. Those with a bit of age on them will know that when paper printers were a thing, you know, originally, it was very complex. You needed to take a course in order to know how to operate it. And, you know, 3D printing has come a long way, but still, easy doesn't mean that things can't go wrong. So when you think about, when you feel like this is not as easy as advertised, you might simply be having a bad printer day. I mean, sometimes everything just works. You hit print and it just works. And other days, it just doesn't. I have had 3D printers for 4 years now, and occasionally I will just quarantine it for a few days because I'm mad at it because things are going wrong. It happens. And then I come back with a fresh perspective because I frankly don't think the 3D printer has changed that much. It's a machine. It had the power off. So it's a lot of things have to do with perspective. If something bothers you, you know, give it a breather. It might just solve itself. So that was 3D printing in general. Ta-da!